Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Hey everybody, welcome to Jackie's Groove. Guys, what is today? It's Friday, November the 10th. I'm just blown away how this year has gone by. I'm having a little challenge today, but a good challenge. My dear friend, my in-studio guest is literally in the studio. As you guys know, worldwide, when I say in studio, they can be all over the world. And but today, since my brother that I've known for 35 plus years doesn't like to be on the phone, and I can attest to that, and all the listeners worldwide knows that Ronnie is not good by picking up the phone. So we had to wrangle him in here. So with that said, guys, we're going to go over Ronnie's, Ronnie hates when I call him Ronnie. So we're going to go over Ron's itinerary, and forgive the sound of the wonderful landscapers in the back, but it makes live radio. I'm not going to tell you who Ron has played with. We're going to tell you who Ron hasn't played with, because his years, going on 25 plus with Kenny G, with Madonna, Sergio Mendes, Diana Ross, who we just recently played about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago in Las Vegas at residency at the Wynn Hotel. So with that, guys, I want everybody to welcome with open ears and open arms to Jackie's Groove, Mr. Ron Powell. Ron, welcome, brother.
Hey, bro. How you doing, Jackie?
Man, you know what? I'm so glad we're getting a chance to sit down and talk. We did this last year with 8 other monkey friends of ours at DW. And with Munyongo and with Felipe Fraga and Joey De Leon. And but the world wants to know what's going on with Ronnie. You know, they always say, you guys have known each other for so long. How come you guys haven't sat down and chopped it up? I said we do on a regular basis, but we don't do it on the radio. So with that said, Ronnie, I know a lot of things about the family. I used to hold you girls in my arms. Shows how old we are, how old I am.
That's right.
And so, just do me a favor. Tell the audience listening out there, where were you born and where were you raised?
Okay, hi everybody. Let me first say that it's a real pleasure being here with my bro, with Jackie. Congratulations on your success with the radio program.
Thank you, baby.
And like I said, it's a pleasure being here. Okay, so I'm from Philly. Grew up in West Philadelphia, moved to LA in 74 out of high school, and luckily started working right away, and been on the road basically ever since then. I got with Sergio Mendes in 1978, and probably since then I've probably only had about 3 months off.
It's something to be thankful for being gainfully employed.
Yeah,
that's the main thing. It's
sure.
It's so funny because when I talk to Ron, I actually don't talk to Ron. I talk to his wife Pat, because as any person who's busy, they really don't know their itinerary until they're actually in the hotel room for a lobby call and told they've got to get ready for sound check and so on. So that's a good situation. And speaking of Pat Powell, I was at Ron and Pat's wedding back in 1979, 80.
Yeah,
before I was married. Look at Ron's looking at me now because he's got to get called on the carpet for not remembering his own wedding. I remember that was at that crazy restaurant.
Well, the wedding was at a church in West Covina,
right.
California, and then the reception was at Kellerman's Wharf.
And we all came down the slide.
The slide that went into
man.
Oh, boy, that was fun.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm going to be very honest with you, man. I got jumped in with Ron. Ron has always been not only a friend, but he's been a mentor to me, his playing, and just as a person in general. But the fact of the matter is, Ron invited me into a band years ago called Caravana with Kenny Hudson, with Vito Sanfilippo from Tower of Power at the time, Dane Matsumura from Hiroshima.
Wow.
Ruben Guadarrama, and so on. Ron's looking at me. That's one thing I have is my mind still. But the thing about this is our first rehearsal was at the Musicians Union, 47 in Los Angeles. Ronnie had this shit-eating grin on his face because he knew that I came from the School of Tower and so on. That's how we got in Vito and so on. But, playing straight-ahead funk, off-meter funk, just the overall Oakland sound. But I'm getting thrown in here to a group of all Latin players.
Well, hold it.
Go ahead.
So you're saying all Latin players, we were all playing Latin
music.
But most of us weren't Latin players.
Well, let me just tell you. So I'm sitting behind congas. I'm looking at all these luminaries around me, and Ron still got this shit-eating grin on his face. And I think what we found out later that day was this was my jump in, and this was my introduction to Latin music. I'm not a person who sweats, but I was wet from head to toe. We finally played our first gig about 3 weeks later at a place in Los Angeles. I don't know where it was, but it was sold out. It wasn't Genghis.
Ice House.
Was it the Ice House?
Yeah.
And I went from a full arrangement of congas and timbales. I guess I proved myself honest because I had a drum throne and a tambourine and some toys. So I guess if they said, you're not ready to play yet, but with Vegas, we're going to go and we're going to jump in. So we had a great time. Go ahead.
But don't underestimate the importance of the small percussion. Okay, like everybody's record has tambourines and shakers, and everybody thinks that anybody can play that stuff, and in most cases, they can't. Yeah. And that stuff is very important and very difficult to play, and we just didn't need a couple of guys on the congas and timbales. So
the bottom line, guys, I sucked, and and I learned really, really quick. Ronnie, I have to ask you a question because a lot of people have brought this question to me, and it's a fair question because a lot of people don't understand the listeners out there that love the music that we play. You are blessed if you have the ability to be great on stage and also great in the studio. There's a lot of live players that are amazing, but they don't do well in the studio and vice versa. In this case, I can look at Ron and myself and say that we're both blessed because we do sound great live and we do sound great in the studio. But the question from listeners want to know that of all the longevity that you've had with Kenny Gorlick or Kenny G, why is it that they don't see your name, Vale's name, John's name, Robert's name, on the album versus, the band in general itself? Right. And I try to explain to them that it's not so much up to the band. Kenny works with, what's the Armenian guy that you got?
Walter Asinov.
Yes, yeah. Walter. He has his band. My mentor, Paulinho Costa.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so explain to you, how do you feel about that? How do you handle that?
Okay, well, to start, you mentioned live versus recording. So I consider my strong point my live playing. Mm-hmm. And I consider my weakest part being in the studio. I feel like even though I've been playing for 40 years I studied live playing, and so I'm extremely comfortable with that. Only recently have I actually started studying recording.
But when you say studying, what do you mean studying?
Studying. When you're playing live, when you go live, you analyze the audience, you analyze the whole situation, and you decide, okay, what works best with a certain group of people,
right.
With each audience, and that's studying how to perform. And so, since the beginning of my playing, I studied how to perform. I studied how to move people in the audience.
Right.
And when I started, and so I developed that rather quickly. So within 3 years of when I started playing, within 3 years, I knew how to affect the audience.
To gauge.
Right. Okay. And a lot of people think that it just translates into recording. Okay, you're cool. Just put some headphones on and you do the same thing. It doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't.
And so the reason why I haven't been on as many recordings as I probably should have been, considering how long my career has been, is because I didn't really study recording in the early days.
And that's really a good situation in studying because, again, too, I use the word gauge. It's a situation where you can be playing in front of a smaller crowd like at Humphreys and 1,500 people, or playing in festivals that you've done with Kenny and with Madonna and with Sergio and the like, even Miami Sound Machine back in the day. Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is, it's like I look at the situation as, if you're a believer or not, but God works in mysterious ways. I'm thankful that, when my diagnosis of MS came back in 1996, if I was a laborer, I would probably be fucked right now in the way of financially and so on.
Okay.
But the fact of the matter is, I was taught years ago by David Garibaldi from Tower of Power, independence, left hand and right hand. where I'm an ambidextrous player, but my right hand was my shaker hand. My right hand was my rhythm, with my left hand being the solo, a hand on, and I want to get too aesthetic for the crowd out there. But the bottom line is when my MS came on and my right side was mortally affected, it became a little more difficult to keep the rhythm going, unerring rhythm. So I moved my shaker over to my left hand and used my right hand for toys and so on during recording. Ronnie said something to me. I'm going to call you Ronnie. I don't give a fuck what you say about it. Ron said to me, we had lunch at, I think it was at P.F. Chang's at Rancho Cucamonga one day. And I brought Ron, as you would bring to the sacred gifts to the gods, like I do with Paulinho. I've never played with Paulinho in the 30 years I've known him. I always bring him my recordings.
Okay.
And they, for years, called me Paulinho Light.
Okay.
Now, if those who know Jackie over the years, I was a fat motherfucker at one time.
Right.
I'm now a normal-sized guy. But the fact is, Paulinho Light, not because of my size, but because of the amount of money I charge versus Paulinho. With that said, I got good in the studio. And Ron said to me at lunch one day, man, I really wish I was doing what you were doing. And I looked at you and I went, that was very humbling to me, man, because, and I'm going to say thank you to the people out there that had the opportunity to see me sitting in with Ronnie and Kenny G. I mean, those, and I'm honored by this. I know Ronnie gets embarrassed when I say this, but out of all the great players that we know, the great players of live and players that have passed, I feel very honored the fact that I'm one of the handful of one of the very few that get a chance to come up on stage and play with you. And I thank you for that. And it was like yesterday, guys. I wanted to tell you that with at the Arrowhead Pond.
Okay.
Right. See, think about Ron. Ron being a father of two beautiful, beautiful girls, Lexi and Tiana, who I don't like the way they dress but again, if I had a body like that, I'd be dressing that way also. So girls, Uncle Jackie said, put some clothes on.
Right.
But the fact is, Ron would get a call. When Caprice and I lived in Costa Mesa, Ron would call up and say, hey, man, were you busy? No, what's going on? Can you do sound check for me? The girls aren't home yet. Yeah, I was going to don't twist my arm. So I was literally 5 minutes away from the Pacific Amphitheater.
Right.
Fast forward, moving to Anaheim. Phone rings. Hey, man, can you do me a favor? Can you do me sound check over at the pond? The girls aren't home yet. So those are great situations. And when you see someone like Ron's career that's flourished all these years, and working with people like Kenny G, and the racist shit that Kenny got over the years about not being a true jazzer.
Right.
I remember one day Ron said to me, "Hey, Kenny wants to talk to you." I remember Kronk, your drum tech. He says Kenny wants to see you, and I looked over at Kronk. I said, "Tell him I'm not ready yet." And of course, I ran over there. And he said, hey, man, Kenny said to me, thank you very much. I heard that the nice things that you said about don't let the world give you a rash of shit about not being a jazzer. See, Kenny G never claimed to be a jazzer. He was a section player.
That's it.
And
not so much a section player. I mean, he did that.
Right.
But jazz is supposed to be play what you feel. It's supposed to be music from the heart and kind of like something a little outside. And that's what he was doing. And he became successful in that, and then because he had a formula, people started saying, "Oh, well, that's not jazz." And that even wasn't the worst of it. The thing when people started really criticizing Kenny's playing was because he became so successful that his numbers were so far above every other jazz musician and above most other pop musicians that people, the media started saying Kenny's the greatest jazzer of all time.
Right.
And he, of course, doesn't think that. No. But he has made more money than any jazz person of all time.
Well, I said to Kenny that day, I said, Kenny, when they give you that rash of shit, say, you know what, I appreciate your honesty and I appreciate your opinion, but my Learjet's warming up in the back. And he goes, I could never say that. But again, too, he goes, Jackie, you've known me since Jeff Lorber days, back in 80. I knew him before you knew him.
Yeah.
And Kenny said to me, I'm the same person, I just have better neighbors. And talking about his neighbor, Bill Gates, in his Seattle home. So with that, I thank you. I thank Kenny for being, a homeboy, for the lack of a better word, and talking about that situation.
Well, hold up.
Go ahead.
Let's back up. The first question you asked me about the recording situation. Back when I first got with Sergio Mendes in 78, Sergio was using the top players in town. Paulinho actually wasn't the top guy yet. There was a guy named Steve Foreman, a wonderful player. And so I got in Sergio's band, and he used Steve Foreman, and it pissed me off. I'm thinking, wait a minute, I can do this and I can do that.
Right.
But at that point, like I was saying about studying, I didn't realize the real difference between live and studio. And Sergio did. So Sergio would like pick the guy who would do the best job in the studio for him. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I got introduced to that thought like a long time ago. And so even by the time I got to Kenny's band and now Kenny's group, unless it's a live recording, but when he goes in the studio, he uses the best guys, Vinny, Paulinho, Luis Conte. And I can't really argue with that because
those guys are studio guys. Those guys made their living and still make their living in the studio.
Exactly. Now, if you were to even try to, of course, I love those guys. They're wonderful. But if they wanted to come on stage and go live,
you eat them up.
It's another thing. Okay.
It's comfort in your own shoes. Yeah. And I want to talk about too as we come in. It's like right now we got 1:36 on this episode on this segment. But I want to talk more about the aesthetics. Going back, and we'll touch lightly on Madonna and her KKK band. We'll talk about. I know you hated that when I said that, but you shared a lot of stuff with me, man.
Yeah.
And believe me, racism is everywhere.
I know about that.
Yeah, and I think it's bullshit. And when you share with me, and we'll share a little bit with that. I don't want to dredge up anything else, but it's not like Madonna's going to be calling you tomorrow for another gig. Hopefully. And so if you're listening out there, and if you reinvent yourself back with Ron Powell. But when we get back, I want to talk about the situations of how how the business has changed. What you used to do with Kenny on stage, the acrobat Ron Powell. And we'll talk about that more and kind of leave you perplexed, the audience out there. So when we get back on segment number 2 with my in-studio guest, Ron Powell, my longtime friend, my gentleman, I love him like my own blood. We're going to talk more about the gigs. I'm going to kind of slough over a lot of the groups that he's working with. I'm looking at Sheena Easton right now. I remember that. And we're also going to talk about Oscar de la Hoya. Okay, so with that said, guys, and you know exactly where I'm going with that one. So because every time Ronnie's in town, I'll get a phone call and they'll say, "Hey, man, are you and Cappy are going to be around? Or if you're not, turn on Arsenio, turn on, whatever it may be. I don't know who it was when you were on there, and be amazed." So with that said, guys, I want everybody to not go anywhere. Get yourself a beverage. We'll be right back after the short break. And we'll be back and picking it up with Ron Powell, percussion with Kenny G, Madonna, Sergio Mendes, blah, 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 name it. You should see this paperwork I have in front of me. All right, there's the Muppet music, guys. We love you. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for showing up. Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Intertalk Radio. Connect to all things music. Guys, don't go anywhere. Right back after the short break.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on InterTalkRadio.com.
Todd Zuckerman from the rock band Styx, and you're listening to my pal Jackie Bertoni on Jackie's Groove. Groove on, motherfuckers.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Everybody, welcome back to segment number 2 of Jackie's Groove. This is Jackie Bertoni, and the network is called Intertalk Radio. Connect all things music. Ronnie's listening right now because I've got headphones on. It's not necessary for him to have headphones on, so we're looking at each other and kind of marveling at what you just heard coming in. So with that said, guys, welcome back to segment number 2. Hey, before I go any further, do me a favor. When you can't listen to Jackie's Groove live or the plethora of other shows we have on the network, do us a favor, do yourself a favor. Go on to Google or go on to iTunes. Download our easy-to-use and easy-to-navigate application. 2 words, Intertalk first, radio second. You can take Jackie's Groove and the rest of our amazing shows on the road with you. And also, talking about shows coming up, someone that Ron and I have in common, this coming Saturday, in fact, the invitation goes out to you and Pat, at the Back Bay Bistro in Newport Beach on the 11th, this coming Saturday. Okay. It's the second jump-off that we've done. It's called Taste the Music. I did a show earlier, actually last month, with Bunny Burnell, Kayleen Peoples, Mitch Foreman, with Julian Coriel, and also Virgil Donati.
Wow.
And Kayleen, yeah, and it was amazing. And it's a pairing of food and wine and music.
Okay.
And this one is going to be called Miami Spice because Terry is from Florida. Okay. So the whole cuisine will be based upon that itself. Bunny, being a Grammy Award-winning bassist, is also an award-winning chef. So the people there were able to sample his cuisine.
Wow.
So I don't know if you're going to be in town or not, but the invitation's open to you. Newport Beach, Saturday, the 11th November. Doors open at 6. Show starts at 7:30. Terry Woolman's playing.
Oh.
Yeah, Terry's. Okay. It's Terry's show.
Okay.
And Terry also is on the radio. I brought him in the network last year. He has a show called Making It with Terry Woolman.
Okay, and that's one of my favorite bands to play with.
Yeah, man, and it's and the fact is he's going with the quartet this time around. Mm-hmm. I had asked him, I said, "You're going to use Ron? Are you going to use Luis?" He says, "No, you know what? We're going to keep it low. Melanie's going to come in and she's going to sing." Okay. So with that, guys, you can go on to newportdunes.com, Back Bay Bistro, ticketweb.com, and anything that's on intertalkradio.com. You got to be there, man. We want to make this one of the newest rooms in Orange County. We want to kick ass, and we're looking forward to it, man. So, Ronnie, the invitation's out there for you. It's VIP, everything else. So we'll talk about that off the air. All right, so I want to stand corrected. Ronnie yelled at me a little while ago during the break, and I say this wholeheartedly. I'm going to go all the way back to 1985. I was living in Costa Mesa. I said on my DW interview with all the other guys, I kind of gave credence and kudos to Kenny Hudson, another great percussionist, who also was the leader of Caravana, the group I talked about, the group that embarrassed the shit out of me. With that said, I made a mistake by saying that Kenny was hired by Disney to hire players, percussionists. And Ron just corrected me itself, and I'm going to be the first one to say I was wrong. And to be the first one to say I don't give a fuck. But the bottom line is Disney hired Ron for the Lion King parade.
Go ahead. Disney hired me as a consultant because the movie Lion King had just come out, and they didn't know how to present it in the park. So they hired a handful of consultants, and I came in as a player, percussionist, and with my ideas. And all of us together, we decided that it would be cool to have a parade. It could have been a show. We threw a bunch of ideas around, but we all decided to have a parade. And then I really stepped up and said, okay, so in the parade, we need to have this, and we need to have X amount of drummers and so on. And then as the coordinator, then I brought in a couple of guys, basically Kenny Hudson and a couple other guys to lead the section that we were going to hire.
Okay, now I'm going to stop you right there. Okay, so this is where I get pissed. So Ron says to me, "Hey, bro, can you do me a favor?" He goes, would you reach out to our fellow friends? I'm on the road right now. Can you do me a favor and gather up these players? Mm-hmm. So I went ahead and I gathered up the players. Now, I'm being Italian Armenian. I'm not black. I'm lacking in pigment. But the fact of the matter is I went ahead and I got like 15 players, minimal.
Okay.
And they were all excited because it turned out to be a moneymaker. It turned out to be a long gig.
Yeah.
So after I do my diligence and I'm feeling good, wow, I'm really helping out my bro, Ronnie. I felt good. Then I get a phone call, I don't know how many days later, and Ron says, hey, man, thank you so much. We got everybody lined in. That's the good news. And I said, okay, well, what's the bad news? They only want black percussionists.
Well, they didn't say that.
Well, not Disney. But let me just tell you, I didn't see one white boy or one Latin boy on that gig. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, so as soon as I helped out, I got my ass kicked to the curb itself. So, and I didn't think it would be apropos to go do an Al Jolson go into blackface. So that's my situation with that. How long did that parade run for?
Oh, years, 10 years maybe, and they're still doing spinoffs from it.
Yeah.
So it lasted for a long time. It was good employment for the number of players around town. So it was a really nice situation.
Okay, now let's go back for a second. You called me up when we were living in Tustin Ranch, and you said, "Hey, man, I got the Madonna gig." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Oh, cool, man." And you'd have to be under a rock if you don't know who Madonna is, and so on. So I said, "Wow." He said, "Yeah." And I said, well, "Who's playing? Do I know anybody?" He says, "No, it's a UK band." Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, the UK band came in, actually, when I got the gig, there were auditions.
That was on the Drowning Tour, or what was it called?
Drowned World Tour.
Drowned World Tour, okay.
2000, I think. And so it was a whole new band. They let everybody go. They got rid of the whole all-star band, Luis Conte and Omar Hakim and Michael Bearden.
Right.
Wonderful players, but she just wanted something different.
Fresh.
So she had auditions. I got in with all these new guys. We played for about 3 weeks, and then she fired everybody except for me. And then she came in and said to me and the crew, I guess you noticed there's been some changes around here.
Right.
And I jokingly said, well, I didn't know those guys anyway. But she said, what I want is for my music to sound like the record. And I already had that all-star band, and you guys were going down that same road, and I just didn't want that. So what she decided at that time was to hire this UK band, because she said they're going to play my songs just like the record. And she said, well, actually, they're going to mime my songs. So they were going to play the tracks.
That's what I'm saying. There's always backtracking at that time. Okay.
Yeah. And then she said the reason, and she pointed me into the reason why you're still here is because you're going to make it sound live.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Yeah. So when that band first started, 70% of it was tracks for everybody else that everybody was playing along with, and then me playing live. And then as the year went on, it changed to about 50-50, where they were playing 50% of the time, 50% of what was tracks.
And that's cool that you brought that up, because at that time, I'm not embarrassed and proud to say that I was working back in those days with CNC Music Factory and Stevie B. And that was during the blowout with Milli Vanilli.
Right.
And everything that was put live, and we were playing at the Universal Amphitheater, but in the ad, it said live to track. And it wasn't in a small print. It was big on top, because that's what the recording industry, they were forced to tell everybody else, even though we're playing live, some of the horns, some of the strings, everything else will be backtracked. I got a kick out of it because I was working with this great drummer by the name of Tony Mora. He's actually a heavy Nashville guy. Not Tony Moore, Tony Mora.
Oh, okay.
And he started out with a group called, what were the girls, the three girls from Santa Fe Springs, Expose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so when I got the gig, I get to the Universal Amphitheater, and I've got three congas, my bongos, my toys, and my timbales, right? And we're stacked like a Vegas showroom. I'm right on the top. Right below me is the drummer and strings and so on. It was a union room, and for those who don't know out there, they're not the easiest people to work with. So I said to the tech, I said, "There's only 2 microphones up here," and he goes, "Yeah, that's all you have." And I said, "No, it said on the list on the plot that I needed 6 microphones." He says, "Well, you're only going to get 2." And I looked at him. I said, "We're in a room of 9,000 people." And he looked at me. He goes, "If you want to bitch at somebody, bitch at your drummer. He's got 2 R9s, Rolands plugged into that." So
wow.
Yeah. So I looked down to Tony and I said, "Tony, we're going to disconnect your samples." He goes, "Why?" Because that's all the percussion. And I looked at him like, what the fuck? Or what am I doing here? And it was funny. That was his jump in, man. And he finally said, man, I never got a chance to play live percussion. When I came back after yelling at the union guys, when I got back on stage, I had not 6, but 8 microphones.
Okay, so I'm glad you took care of that situation. Let me take care of a little situation that you've already done twice since I've been here. You referred to your small percussionist toys.
Well, let's draw a picture, okay?
No, so even though some of our instruments are toys, literally toys from the toy store, they're not children's playthings. Okay, so
agreed.
Yeah, and so a lot of people kind of confuse that, and so whenever I hear someone call small percussion toys, it gives me an uncomfortable
does it really?
feeling. It actually really does.
Because this is where I'm going to educate you, because when you're in the studio and you get more comfortable in the studio, the producers, they call it congas, bongos, timbales, miscellaneous perk, and toys.
Okay, well, see, I always go, skip that toys and just put all that under miscellaneous perk.
Okay. And it's funny, and I didn't, I learned this because, see, my feet are planted firmly. You're sitting in my studio right now, and this is where, and I've been blessed with, the
great studio,
of musicians and awards that that I was proud to play on. And then, of course, they bestow awards to me for doing that, and I proudly display it. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, the days of big studios, they're dwindling.
Oh, yeah, that's long gone.
And
that ended in the 90s.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's still, I'm still getting called. I'm still doing, soundtrack stuff and so on. But even now, I had to convince it. It was after the last 2 years that I actually get a chance, like with Michael Corvantino, to let him know that I don't have to go to Universal. I don't have to go to Sony Pictures. Right. I can do it all here. And people don't realize it. And even people that are big in the business, they're worried about getting the sound that you would get the same sound at a studio as you were at home. When I'm in a studio, I'm playing on a paisley rug and I'm playing on a wood floor. And in my new home, which is 11 years new now, we have double pane glass. And so the fact is, I'm getting the same sound, giving them the same sound. They send me tracks, MP3, WAV files. I import them into Pro Tools, and then now, in the new situation, new Logic. And it amazes me because they're getting the same exact sound.
And it's actually better to be at home because all of your gear is here. There was the day back in the day we used to show up at the studio with a truck full of cases. And if you wanted a particular sound, you had to tell your techs, okay, go in the back of the semi and pull out case number 12 and and drawer number 3 in the back, that's where that whistle is at. But now all that stuff, you have it right here.
Yeah, and it amazes me because for those who don't know, for those who do know Ron and had the pleasure of being at his home, Ron built a whole home behind his home that encases a alarm coded room that protects a virtual potpourri of percussion. And I'm not just talking about congas. We're talking about djembes. We're talking about percussion from African percussion, Afro-Cuban, Latin, and so on. It's quite the sight to be seen.
It's quite a collection from around the world.
Yeah, man. And it's like I go in there and it's like a kid going into a candy store. You get a chance to really sit there and be amazed at that. I don't consider myself a Latin percussionist by any stretch of the imagination. You taught me something years ago. Ron was teaching a student, and Ron looked at me like, we're going to say, and he was playing it well, but he said to Ron, am I playing it right? And I'll quote Ron. Ron said, how does it feel to you? And he said to Ron, it feels great. And Ron said, then you're playing it right.
Okay.
Do you remember saying that to me? Nod your head, yes.
No.
And but the fact
but
of
it sounds like something I'd say.
Yeah, it's that feel, it's that groove. Because when I'm hired by said producers and from New York to Chicago and so on, they hire me because they know they're going to get the sound that they're looking for. They don't have to sit there and loom over me. And when I go in the studio, if I can just give you a little vibe, I give them 3 times the amount of percussion that they required. So they can go ahead and they can pick and choose, and I don't have to worry about going back and forth. They can bounce a track and so on.
Right, yeah, I use the same approach.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to ask you. Yeah. So are you feeling comfortable now in the studio? Do you really feel comfortable, or are you kind of like still kind of glaze-eyed when you're walking in?
Again, comparing it to being on stage.
Okay.
I can walk on stage with anybody right now. If any band called me right now and I had to walk outside and go on stage, I'd feel completely comfortable because there's nothing that can happen on the stage that hasn't already happened that I can't handle. So that's feeling comfortable to me. Do I feel that way when I walk in the studio? No. Okay, because I don't know all of the different things that could possibly happen.
And it's so true because, Ronnie, it's not what you put down, it's what ends up on the album.
That also, yes.
Yeah, because
yes.
you can think you're the baddest player in the world, and then all of a sudden you look around and there's more percussion tracks on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
I've been blessed to know that I'll get a call from the producer and saying, "Hey, man, we're going to take the shaker tracks from this track if you don't mind. We're going to augment the sound. We're going to move it up a couple beats, bring it fine. Yeah. You're still going to get credit for it.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things that could happen.
Because I learned this thing a long time ago, Ronnie. If I was on every album I was asked to be on, I'd be on every album I was asked to be on. Because there's nothing more disgruntling when you open up, and there's something too. Ronnie's going to smile because we're in the same age bracket. I say this all the time to the millennials. The thing they're missing is a thing called liner notes.
Oh, gosh.
It's Record Release Tuesday.
That kills me. That my name is not on the record, when somebody else's name is there and it's actually me playing, or the fact that I can't even find out who's playing on the CD.
Yeah, man.
So that really bugs me.
And when we get back on the last segment, man, I think we should have gone a little bit longer on this, but it gives you an opportunity to come back.
Okay.
But I want to talk about the fact that you are a dad to two beautiful young ladies itself, and I want to know not what you've taught them over the years, but what have they taught you recently about new music? And don't answer it now, but do you get today's music?
Okay.
Okay, and and I ask that to everybody in our age bracket, and I'm amazed by the responses. I mean, there's a lot of great music out there, but you got to dig a lot deeper to find it. And the fact is, with your girls, with Lexi and Tiana, growing up in a musical household, they heard all different genres of music. And I want to know more about the vibe. I know the response. We've been to more concerts where they sat on Caprice's leg and they're looking at Daddy on stage. I want to know more about that itself, because the bottom line is, as I said before, with people like Carney Wilson and people like Kathy Rich, even though the people that don't knock at the door would be Frank Sinatra, the knock at the door would be Elton John or Paul McCartney, there's still a situation. You're around those kind of stars.
Right.
I want to find out what the girls thought about that, you know. And so when we get back on the last segment, I can't believe it's the last segment, we're going to chop it up. The last segment's going to be all about Ron, although this has already been about Ron, but we want to let everybody know how they can contact you, how they can hire you, how they can stalk you in a good way, and so on, and all about social media. So when I get back, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to introduce you to the CEO of the corporation, and he wants to talk to you. I'm going to give you the headphones so you can hear him. And he's going to take over from there, just a little bit of the snippet, then we're going to get back in the swing of things. So with that said, guys, Jackie Bertoni, Ronnie Powell, Jackie's Groove, Intertalk Radio Network, you're in to all things music. Guys, don't go anywhere. Segment number 3, final of the hour, coming up after this short break. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on Intertalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas, and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now, with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording, and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on intertalkradio.com.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Hi, this is Michael McDonald, and you're listening to my good buddy Jackie Bertoni on Jackie's Groove.
Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Yeah, man, welcome back to the third and final segment. I'm sitting here with my headphones twisted around because Ronnie doesn't have one on there. But those three songs coming up on each segment are by the hands of my in-studio guest, Mr. Ron Powell. Ron, welcome back. Hey, guys, I want to take a real quick second. We talked about this on the break. We've got to do a little bit of business here. So I want to say first and foremost to our biggest sponsor, Pitbull Audio, the world's largest when it comes to online and even brick-and-mortar store in National City. And that's pitbullaudio.com, Calvin Lee and the Motley Crew, but they just want you to play it loud. Somewhere that Ron and I are very familiar with, a company called SIR, Studio Instrument Rentals. Reach them at sir-usa.com for all of your backline and all of your studio rehearsal needs. Thirdly, to Sabian Cymbals, my cymbal choice for the last 24 years. You can reach them at sabian.com. Vader Percussion, my drumstick company for the past 25 years, who's been giving my good wood in my hand for all these years. Make that and also to Drum Workshop, and that's Don Lombardi, Chris Lombardi, and everybody. John Good, thank you, gentlemen, for your support, and people that I'm most in love with. My percussion company for 28 years, lpmusic.com. And as their motto's always been, what the best players play, and to be part of that, I couldn't be more excited. And we're going to talk more about that too, because I'm 28 years. Ronnie goes a lot farther. And I'm going to call Ronnie out on the situation because his wife, Pat, agrees with me 100% that it's good to be a great player, but it's in this business, it's not always good to be humble and start using your name, but don't answer that yet.
Okay.
So with that said, everybody, we have a band. Ronnie's with many bands. I've been with many bands, but the band we're going to talk about today is my band in the studio. People that keep the lights on. Megan, which you've talked to. And Cedric and Candy, Paul Berezesky, who's actually back in Indiana right now with NAMM, and we'll talk more about that. And also the gentleman that keeps these lights on. His name is Florentino Buenaventura. He's not a wrestler. He's a decent bass player, but moreover, he's an amazing CEO. So with that said, give me a second here. I'm going to take my headphones off. I'm going to go ahead and give these to Ronnie. Ronnie, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to say hi to Florentino. Florentino, say hi to Ron Powell.
Hey, Ronnie, what's going on, brother?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good, man. I could talk all kinds of madness about Jackie. You wouldn't even know what I'm saying right now.
That's right. You're good.
He doesn't even know. Oh, yeah. Well, he can hear you, but he can't hear me.
That's true. Okay.
Man, it's good to have you finally on. Dude, how many years have we been doing this stuff, and you're finally here, man? What's up with that?
Jackie, I think Jackie asked me when he first thought about doing this, and I agreed, and it's just taking this long for us to get our schedules together.
I know, man. You're always going, man. It was good to see you over at Kenny's concert, man. That was such an awesome concert, brother. You guys, I just can't believe the energy that you have, bro. You tired me out. I was just watching you.
Well, performing is a lot of fun, and that like I mentioned to Jackie, that's where I feel my real strength lies, is in connecting with the audience and translating that energy and love between the audience and the band.
Well, man, all I can tell you is every percussionist should be able to jump over their rig. That's all I got to tell you.
As long as you got the knees for it.
Yeah, as long as you got the knees for it, it's all good. Tell Jackie I want to see him jump over the rig next time.
Ooh, okay. I don't know if I want to see that.
You don't want me to see that. That would be an ugly sight right there. Big boys should not be jumping over anything.
There you go.
Anyway, man. Hey, I know Jackie's chomping at the bit to get back here, but this segment's all about really you, man. We created this network because we realized people that deserved a bit of spotlight weren't quite getting it. I mean, yeah, you're up on stage and yeah, people see you jump, but do they know who you are? Do they know what you're about? Do they know your heart? Do they know the things that drive you? And then more importantly for the kids that are listening, do they know how you got to where you're at? And
right, okay.
With that said, yeah, that is that's going to be a big part of everything that we're doing. I'm trying to manage a broadcast here as well as a broadcast that we're doing on Facebook Live with NAM. So okay. I'm getting dinged, guys. Sorry if you're hearing that in the background, but I got to cover too. So
okay, well, yeah, it's great that you have this program going on, and like I said, it's just a pleasure being here. So as much information as we can get out in a lot amount of time, we're just going to keep going at it.
Yeah. Well, then the main thing, man, is let's get some people stalking you, brother. In a good way, obviously. We don't want them to stalk you in a bad way, because they couldn't keep up with you. They'd have to get they have to get good with parkour or something like that, jumping over like buildings. But what are your URLs, man? Tell us how people can find out more about you.
Okay, well, of course, I have my website up at ronpowellpercussion.com, or call me. I'm old school. I really telephone is the thing, and just leave me or send me a text. The number is 951-312-1917. That's directly to me, and you can send me a text, and voila, there I am. And like I said, or you can contact me online, and there you go.
There you go,
pretty
man.
Easy, straight ahead.
Go ahead and give your email address also.
Oh yeah.
You got social security social security numbers, credit card numbers. Yeah. We take them all, man. It's all good.
And the email.
What is he?
Email.
He's getting calls in there?
Yeah, I am. Sorry.
Oh, you are?
The
okay.
email is ronaldpowell@charter.net.
Awesome.
And
awesome.
Then the webpage is ronpowellpercussion.com. Oh, yeah, you can just give me a call, 951-312-1917.
Well, if you get a late night call that's got some heavy breathing, it wasn't me, man. Just remember that. It wasn't me. Well, hey, bro, okay. I think we need to get them headphones back to Jackie so he can get back in the mix of things, man. It's good talking to you. We'll catch you up soon, man.
Good to talk to you. I'll talk to you later.
Much love, bro.
All right, we're switching back to the headphones here.
I'll call you back.
So what we're doing here, guys, I'm going to pick this back up because I also want to take a couple seconds and say, God bless you. We miss you. Our brother Ricky Lawson, who just celebrated a birthday a couple days ago. One of the most amazing studio players and live players, speaking of which, who we lost a few years ago.
Yeah,
it's his birthday. So, Ricky, we're throwing it out here for you, man. Dedicating
Still thinking about you, yeah.
Absolutely.
Wonderful guy.
Now, I want to ask you this question. I asked it before, or started talking before. Now, with the two girls growing up in the love of music, I remember when I brought them the Free Up album that I did with Big Mountain.
Right.
And
great job on that.
Yeah,
I still listen to that. I'm serious.
Monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah.
And the girls would dance around the house.
Yeah.
That was just adorable to me, and so on. And I'm thankful for the band itself. But with that said, I know you've taught the girls what it's like to be a woman, and of course, Mama Powell also, Pat. But the fact is, you've taught them about music. They grew up with music in that situation. But I want to know, what have the girls taught you about today's music, if anything?
Okay, well, they listen to everything.
Okay,
they listen to all the stuff that I used to play, and actually, I'll come home and I'll hear them playing Frank Sinatra and Astro Gilberto. I'm like, what do you guys listen to that stuff for? But overall, I think we both realized that music is all the same. Every decade that it seems to change, for the most part, it stays the same.
But do you get today's music, though?
I think I do.
Okay.
And I think I actually listen to more today's music than my daughters do, that's for sure.
Okay, so I hijack your music player right now. I jump in your car with you. What's on your rotation?
Everything.
Okay.
But I intentionally, although rather have radios, I have music in every room. Still old school guy.
Of course.
But everything's intentionally on something completely different. You go in one room, it's country music. You go in the next room, it's rap. The next room, it's real jazz. And in the next room, it's smooth jazz.
Fusion.
And so it's all different styles of music, but it's all the same thing.
Yeah, it's music, man. I get that. I get that.
Yes.
And I want to ask this question to you. Again, we talk about your legacy and everything that you've been doing for over 40 years. And again, if I can brag on my boy, again, Kenny G, Madonna, the Sergio Mendes, Diana Ross, Ricky Lee Jones, Chucky's in Love, one of my favorite songs. Sheena Easton, the finest girl forever and a day. I mean, Tanya Maria, one of the most great, amazing pianists from...
Probably my favorite band ever.
Yeah, you dig? And, I'm looking at, God, Nai. Well, I mean, beautiful girl also. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at all the people here because a lot of people that are on this list have been on the show. Oh, and it's kind of cool. I'm just looking over that. I just did an interview a couple days ago with Morris James O'Connor, the guitar player from Earth, Wind & Fire. Yeah. It's been with him for 10 years. We really chopped it up.
Did you know that I got a call from Earth, Wind & Fire maybe 20 years ago? They wanted me to come and join the band.
Hold on. Do you remember who you called?
Yeah.
Me.
Yes. That's what I was going to remind you.
Yeah, you don't have to remind me because we talked about my good friend Anthony Raya just got called up for the Blue Man Group.
Okay.
Unfortunately, didn't get it. Took him about a week to get over. He was devastated. And I quoted, I said, one of my dearest friends, Ron Powell, he goes, I know Ron. I said, he gave me a bit of advice that helped the sting. He said to me, bro, you had a chance to audition with them. You had a chance to be part of the Earth, Wind & Fire family. But remember, most important, it's a gig. It's not the gig.
Yeah.
And I looked at Ron. I said, well, yeah, Ron, that's easy to say when you've got the gig with Kenny G. And so, because I will always say, Kenny's still doing it. Now, if Kenny can get off the golf tip, is he mellowed out on the golfing?
Not really.
Okay, that's something else we don't want to talk about right now. It's like, but
it's good though.
It's a conducive group. I mean, I just want to say something. I laugh because I'm all about flight. When Ron explained to me, and people don't know that, not only is Ricky, not only is Kenny an amazing player, but he's also an amazing pilot.
That's right.
And do you want to share with him the reason why the band doesn't fly with him anymore?
Well, it could have something to do with how many times we did barrel rolls.
Do you hear this, guys? Over the Puget Sound.
Yeah. And how many times we buzzed the airport and flown upside down. I think there's a TV show that I think it's called We Shouldn't Be Alive.
Yes, of course.
Well, that's our band.
Starring.
Yeah. Right.
I got a great a picture I'm going to put up on my social media. It's a picture of the guy standing out by Lear 35. Yeah. And that's... And the fact of the matter is, people don't know out there, this is where I become a nerd. You can't be a pilot on a Learjet without having a co-pilot, right. and so on. But the fact of the matter is, I said to Kenny one day, I said, do you ever remember the Big Bopper? And, and all these guys itself who died in planes, you don't want to add to that. Yeah. And also to Mr. Gorlick, I want to thank him very much personally for all of his help and support for the MS Foundation. Right. He's always been a major part of that itself.
He's very quiet about a lot of the things that he donates to, but he's a very generous guy.
Yeah, and Kenny's going to be coming on in January.
Cool.
And that's that's the thing we want to do itself. So I'll send this when we archive the show. I'll send it out to him for his approval, if you will. So, Mr. Gorlick, I have your back 100%. And Kenny, I just did a new album with Darryl Williams, and a song was produced by Mr. Jeff Lorber. And it's tearing up the charts right now, and that's the album right to my side over here to stay. Okay. And I'll play some of that off the air for you. So I want to get back this for a second, Ronnie. Cappy came up with this question, and I ask every one of my interviews, and they always take a two-beat. I asked this to Saida Garrett, to Ray Parker Jr., and Wilson. The list goes, am I name dropping? Absolutely. And I'll ask the same question to Kenny when I get a chance to chop it up with him. Think about this for a second. If music was not in your life, not in your vernacular, there was no such thing as music, what would Ron Powell be doing today?
Probably be a general in the Marines.
Why do you say that?
I like order.
Okay.
I like discipline.
Okay.
And I'm kind of a physical kind of guy.
Kind of? I have a text right here. I'm not going to read it to you either. So, yeah, but, I have to ask that question, man, because it's amazing. Ray Parker said to me, You know, Jackie, I'd probably be working on the line at Ford Motor Credit in Detroit, where my dad was.
Okay.
Or I probably would be dead.
Wow.
Or in jail. You know, and I can't imagine a day without music. I mean, to think that I transitioned, I'm still a percussionist, but now I'm being recognized as the radio guy now.
Okay.
You know, people are coming to town. They're not saying 2 years ago, hey, Ron, is there any tickets available? Yeah, you know, Ronnie always never says no. But there's a fact is other groups like Chicago, Tris, guys, I'd love to. Wally, Raiders, bro, you know, I do this, but the label has sucked up all the tickets. Now, fast forward 2 years, I'm getting calls. Hey, man, we're going to be in town. Do you want to come to the show?
Right.
And I didn't understand that until Talaya, our dear friend from the Wave, she said to me, you are now an entity. Okay. Meaning the fact is you've already based yourself. You've already put your footprint on the fact of percussion. You've earned that stripes for 30 years. But the fact is now it's a good situation where you're able to use each other, not in a bad way. They're able to use you as a vocal point of being out there in the media and vice versa. So keep the invites coming in. That's the bottom line. Go ahead.
Okay, so going kind of back to that same question about music not being in your life for younger players. When you're just playing at home and you have dreams of being a professional, basically music isn't in your life because it's not your career,
sure, of course,
or anything. And a lot of people have problems making that transition. Even like for myself, I was playing professionally for 10 years, traveling around the world and everything. And I used to pride myself on the fact that as soon as I finished the tour, the next day I could get a job, a real job. So I would come back to LA and I'd get a job. I was a runway model. I was a truck driver, so on. All kinds of stuff that I did. And then one day while I was doing a clinic at Guitar Center, I actually listened to what I said to a bunch of kids.
Right.
And that was, at some point you have to stop treating your music like a hobby and treat it like a career.
Absolutely.
And at that point, I stopped doing all of those other jobs because I realized I have a career. I have a real job. I just need to treat it as such.
Indeed.
And so especially for younger people getting into the music business, treat it like a real career. Don't go at it for 3 hours a day and think you've got it made.
Not going to happen.
It's got to be 40, 50, 60, 80 hours a week that you put into your career to make it pay off.
Okay, guys, and that's perfect, Ron. That's a great thing for a mentor, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to recap this. Ron Powell. I want everybody to visit him at www.ronpowellpercussion.com. You can also, he put the word out there. His cell phone directly is 951 area code 312-1917. Hire this man. And also email him at ronaldpowell at charter.net. Guys, it's much too soon. It's over. But I thank you, my brother, from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
You've now been jumped in. You can't get out. Guys, Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by the Talk Radio Network, connect all things music, and my guest, Mr. Ron Powell. Ronnie, I love you, brother.
Love you, bro.
We'll talk soon.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be the music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.